Hi everyone, my name is Tori, this is Novel Life, and welcome back to my channel. Today I have a romance recommendations video for you, and that is talking about hate to love romances. So someone commented on one of my videos, or when I asked like what kind of content you want to see from me, and they were like, I would love a hate to love romance recommendations video. So I am delivering on that. Now, if you don't know, enemies to lovers and hate to love to me are extremely different. Enemies to lovers is I kind of have this dislike for you, or just very slight dislike, if that makes sense. Now, hate to love is true. I absolutely despise you and what you've done or who you are, what family you come from, all of that. Like, they truly despise each other. So I have 6 or 7 to share with you, so let's just go ahead and jump in. I cannot do this video without talking about the one hate to love romance that I feel like started it all for me, and that is 5 Rounds by Nikki Castle. So you guys know I talk about Nikki Castle a lot. I love her. I absolutely adore her. 5 Rounds is probably one of the ultimate hate to love romances I've read, and it's one that I really, really love. I give this book 5 stars. I think that she wrote it really, really well. Supposedly, it is modeled after her own relationship when they first started. In this book, Remy and Tristan are forced together in a forced proximity roommate situation. Remy is kicked out of her apartment because the landlord's like, hey, I gotta cut your lease short. I need you to get out. My family needs to move in. They don't have a place to stay, which really actually sucks. But she asked her best friend Jax if she can stay with him, and he said, you know what, that's perfect. I'm going a 2-week business trip. You can stay in my room. Well, Jax shares his apartment with Tristan, who Remy absolutely hates. They've been around each other for quite a while. Like I said, Jax is Remy's best friend, and Jax trains at this MMA gym. He's not trying to make it professionally, but Tristan is. And while this is very much hate to love, I think Nikki Castle took that and really did a good job developing their friendship from seeing that hate, where you see this hate go to kind of like enemies, kind of like I despise you, but I still want to fuck you, to actually, I really do love you and I do feel something for you. And while they're forced together for these 2 weeks, it's basically they drop their walls from each other. They go to the gym together because Remy is also training at this MMA gym, not to fight professionally, but she does train that way. And it was just a really, really good romance. You really got to see that development, where that hate comes from and how that develops into lovers, which is what I love. Sometimes I do not like it when hate to love books go from hate to love without any development or why or reasoning, because then it's like, well, why did you hate them in the first place? Do you know what I mean? So this is one of my favorites, and I will always recommend this one. Another one that I recently read is Iced Out by C.E. Ritchie. I have seen this book kind of going around, and I really enjoyed this. This is an hockey romance. Quinn and Oakley really despise each other. So we see at the beginning of the book, they are on the same team for, I think it's when they're younger, like in high school or something like that. It's before they go to college, and you see them on the team and they're like, good game or this and that, you know what I mean? And they're just throwing comments back and forth. Now, Quinn hates Oakley because his dad is a very famous hockey player, but also his dad's twin is also really into the NHL world and is really popular as well. You come to find out later, the coach, his uncle, who's the twin, is the coach of their college team. But basically, Quinn hates that Oakley's family has paved the way for him in the hockey world. And that's basically where he is now, or what he believes is why Oakley is where he is now in that world. Now, Oakley doesn't necessarily hate Quinn. He just hates the way that he perceives him. Does that make sense? Like he hates that he has this stigma about him that he can't really change. So the comments just fly back and forth between them. You know what I mean? Like, Quinn really starts it, and then Oakley doesn't back down. Now we fast forward when they're in college. It's their last year. They are worried about winning the championship. They want to get their team together. They want to do all these things. And some things happen at the beginning. I don't want to say anything because it might spoil it, but where captains get switched around. So captain goes from Quinn to Oakley because of reasons. And then it goes back to Quinn at the end of the book. But within all of that, the romance comes from one day at a party, a frat party, I think it is. They go up to the bathroom, or one of them goes into the bathroom, the other one follows, and he's like, they're having this bickering moment, and then all of a sudden Quinn gets down on his knees, and he, does something to Oakley, if that makes sense. You can see where I'm going here. Anyway, while that is great, they're really into superstition. So after that moment, the next day they win their game after having a really long losing streak, and they're like, we have to keep doing this. Like, Quinn's like, we have to keep doing this. We cannot stop because then we lose. And we need to win the championship. We're on the same team. We need to do what we both can to win. So that's when that whole thing really just turns into lust. But over time, they have these small conversations, chit chat after everything, after they spend the night together or whatever. They have their little steamy time. So I personally really enjoyed this hate to kind of mutual friends with benefits to love. I personally enjoyed it. I think it was great. I think it was well written. It's a little bit on the shorter side, like 300-ish pages. So it's not as long as some of these other books, but I would highly recommend it. Another one that I recently read was The Frat Boy by Nikki Sloan. So this one has been going around and I personally really enjoyed this. So the beginning of the book is not actually my favorite. It's called The Frat Boy and I hate that it's called that because they don't really spend very much time in the sorority Greek life, which I personally love. I don't really care about Greek life all that much. And we see at the beginning, they are on separate teams. So she's in a sorority, he's in a fraternity. They're competing like in games, like Greek games. And his team cheats. The person that's going up against our female character starts cheating and she's screaming and yelling at the end, you didn't win, you cheated, blah, blah, blah. And then this whole like mud fight starts because it's all in the mud and someone gets hurt and this and that. And instead of the sorority and fraternity being suspended, they were like, no, we'll just kick out the two people who started it, who is our female and male characters. So they are now looking for a place to stay because they stayed in the sorority and they both answer this ad separately. Like one's looking for a male, one's looking for a female for an adult film company. And the first time that they ever have to do anything is in their audition. So it starts with that first scene. You can tell the mutual hate that they have for each other is absolutely there. And holy shit, it explodes. And I really, really enjoyed it. I think that it was fantastic and you get to see this slow build up to, oh shit, I feel something other than like this lust when we have to perform together. I also love the whole adult film company kind of thing because that's not always in books, but I like how normal it is and how that's just their job and how they live their life. So that's another good one. The next one I have is Corrupt by Penelope Douglas. I was kind of nervous to put this one on there because this is a more of a bully romance. Our female character, she obviously hates our main male character. What is his name? Michael, and her name is, Erica. Rika is her name. She hates Michael for things that he's done in the past, and while I did really enjoy this one, it's not going to be for everyone. This is one that I was nervous to put on there because it's a bit more bully than hate to love. I mean, it is hate to love because she hates him, but it's because he bullies her. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of trigger warnings in this book, a lot of trigger warnings. So when I say this is not going to be for everyone, it's really not going to be for everyone. But they kind of have this slow build where Michael realizes, okay, maybe I do feel something other than this bullying that I'm doing to her, like I'm getting close to her and stuff like that. It's a very interesting read. It starts the Devil's Night series. It opens up this world that Penn Douglas has created. It's very different, very dark. I'm not going to say more than that. This is kind of just a bonus rec that I wanted to throw in there. If you haven't read it, I think you would enjoy this. If you're a dark romance reader, just know it's bullying that leads to the hate to love part. We'll just say that. But I do love a particular sauna scene in here. The next one I have is Managed by Kristen Callahan. So I recently read this one, and even though this is, I think, second in the series, you can technically read it as kind of like a standalone. So in this book, we see both of our characters. They're on an airplane going to, I think, England, and they just have this like bickering moment on the airplane. Do you know what I mean? Like she's complaining about something, he's complaining about something, blah, 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 blah. Well, when they get there, they realize that she is the photographer that's working for the boy band that he manages. So it's kind of like this is, I would say, teetering the line of enemies to lovers and hate to love. Like it's a very fine line for me. And I personally, there are moments where I would consider it hate to love, but there's moments I would consider it enemies to lovers. So I would say it's light hate to love, if that makes sense. I'm probably not making sense whatsoever. But I thought I would throw this one in there because I did really enjoy it. I love the romance. I love kind of the forbiddenness, the workplace romance. I loved how she had to really get to know him and he had to really get to know her. They had to let their walls down a little bit and, learn to kind of move past things, but also at the same time, there's things that happen with the boy band and stuff like that kind of ties into her story and what she's doing, what they're doing and stuff. I don't want to say too much because I don't know what is considered a spoiler, if that makes sense, but I listened to the audiobook and I thought the audiobook was fantastic. So if you're looking for a good audiobook, check out this one. I want to go back and read Idol, which is the first book, which is one of the guys of the boy band. So I'm excited for that. But the next one I have to recommend is, okay, I'm probably saying this wrong. Do not come for me. I am the queen of, pronouncing everything wrong. Okay. But it is Veritas. I think it's Latin, but it means truth. And this is by A.L. Woods. So this one I am also hesitant to recommend because it's not going to be for everyone. This is very much on the longer side. I could see what A.L. Jackson was trying to do. There is some dom sub aspects in here. And if you're looking for a book that gives you what Elena Lombardi from the Anti-Heroes in Love duet, like the vibes that she gives off of how powerful and how strong she is, this is the book for you. That is the one reason why I loved it, because I think that the female and male characters are very, very strong. Now, the end point was kind of like, this is the start, this is the end, and we get there and it's like going, and then it wavers, and then it gets there, and then it wavers, and then it gets up, and then we end. You know what I mean? So it's not like the best. I feel like as a new author, she has some things to learn, but I could see the potential, and that's why I want to recommend it. I personally enjoyed it. She's a lawyer. He's a lawyer. They work for different firms. She has gone through a lot. She has a lot of trauma. She has put on this armor, and her armor is her suits, her red lipstick, her red nails, her Louis Vuitton shoes. Do you know what I mean? And she puts on this persona that she is not to be messed with, because a lot of things have happened to her that made her have that armor. It's happened to her from people that are really close to her. And you see our main male character, he had a one-night stand with her, and she walked out the next morning, and he's kind of interested in her. So months have gone by. Oh, I forgot to mention, he's a single dad. Which is one of my critiques. I wish the daughter was more into their relationship, but it doesn't end with like oh yeah, happily ever after. So I did like the moments there. This was a solid read. It's not the best thing I ever read. It's not the worst thing I ever read, but I do want people to give her a try as an author because I see the potential. So if you love Elena Lombardi from the Anti-Heroes in Love duet, I would suggest reading this one. The last one I'm going to recommend is just a bonus, and I'm not going to go into it. That's from Luke Off with a Love by Marina Zapata. I feel like this is one of the top hate to love romances. Like if you look up hate to love romances, this is one of the top ones that come up. This is an figure skater. She is closing in on the end of her career, and she has to partner with Ivan Lukov. And I read this a while ago, like years ago. I don't remember all of it, but I remember really loving it. And part of me really wants to go back and reread this, but I want to listen to the audio because I physically read this when I did read it. So I may go back because I'm rereading more this year, but I wanted to mention this one. I do know that this is a really good hate to love, and a lot of people that read it also loved it as well. So those are my hate to love romance recommendations that I have to share with you. Leave me what kind of emoji? Ooh, leave me a rose emoji, just because I feel like roses have like passion and lust and love, and sometimes like with hate to love, it's like a fine line between hate and love. You know what I mean? Anyway, we're getting in depth in here, but thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe for more content for me. As always, I hope you're living a novel life, and I will see you in my next one. Bye guys.